Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Baja Brief podcast. We're here with Fletcher Wheaton here in Cabo Costa. Fletcher, how are you doing?
Good, Pedro. How you doing?
Good, good. Have a nice ocean view. Cabo Costa is coming along really good.
Yeah, no, that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about the market, a little bit about pre-construction, a little bit about this project, how it differs from a lot of other projects, and yeah.
Yeah, so discussing pre-construction while we're here in Cabo Costa, why do you think it's coming up in the conversation? Why do you think right now it's relevant to be discussing pre-construction versus finished units?
So Cabo Costa, you have a phase 1 and a phase 2. It's like 360 condos total, right? And that's over 99% sold out. So risk is all from that perspective. When a lot of these projects started in Tezal, the whole premise on pre-construction is risk and reward.
Right.
So if you're buying something that is ground up, it should be at a lower price, or it should have some reason, location views as to why it's going to increase in price relative to other projects. What I'm noticing is after the COVID boom, you had a lot of people, Cabo was the hot market in Mexico. So you had a lot of people come to this area because you have this view. You have some numbers here that will show that essentially you could have a built out furnished unit for the same price as something that's a ground up or some level of pre-construction. And that's why we feel very comfortable with this project. So what are those numbers?
Yeah, so this part is focuses on the reward part of the risk and reward you're talking about, because of this huge gap between buying something that's built out or even furnished and something in pre-construction, right? So I looked up active listings just in the corridor, 2 bedrooms, and even focusing on built out from 2022 to 2025, right? So there's 455 active, 253 completed, 202 pre-construction. The average price for a 2-bedroom under 500K built out from 2022 to 2025, built out average price 353,000 versus pre-construction 358.
So the Cabo corridor is essentially all Tezal.
Yeah, I focus there because it's where you notice most of the post-COVID boom, right, in construction.
You have 353,000 average price for a 2-bedroom condo built out in Tezal,
which is most of the inventory in this.
And then you have pre-construction,
and then
which is $5,000 more than that. And that's what we're saying. And you can get even deeper into it since you've had so many projects come online. You have issues getting electricity, water. So a lot of these newer projects these delays have gotten more. So you're getting more of those headaches where you come to a project like this where pricing was different when these launched, right? So you can get a resale here for the same price of something that would be delivered in 1 year. And that's if everything goes according to schedule.
Yeah. So what I think is right now, this is the dust settling post-COVID construction boom. The gap is closer. There's not a huge imbalance. So what I think is that this is important because it's a cycle, right? Right now, if people start focusing on buying built out, building furnished, that makes developers have to innovate. They need to get competitive prices. They need to bring newer projects. They're going to have to think outside the box to bring.
Or they put stuff on hold.
Yeah.
And let the inventory like this get absorbed. Because why would you? I mean, I'm being honest. Why would you take the risk of waiting 2 years, waiting 1 year, and then not having furniture? I always say this: the first people that take possession are the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
They have to go through the pain of being first delivery, dealing with the HOA, and that's only going to get harder and harder as it gets, I think, harder to get electricity hooked up. And it's nothing more than just a lot of people asking for it once, right? You know, getting title and things like that. So
Yeah, that's also the risk part right now. Since I've been involved with a development here in Tesal, it's commercial. There's a lot of stuff that's out of the developer's hands to have like the finished product with services, with title, all of that. So even developers that have the experience, they have the money, they have the sales, they have other projects in Cabo, they have like a really great project. There's still all this stuff that like they can't control.
there's always moving pieces in development. And we're right here. I'm looking at the kitchen. This was supposed to be electric, you know, oven, stove, and they made them go to gas, which most people prefer anyway. And that was because they didn't want more electricity pulled from the grid. So that's what we're saying is these new projects, if it took you, these are just arbitrary numbers, but if it took you 1 month to get, you know, CFE hooked up, that might be 6 months now. And that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying when you look at pricing. You know, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So you get something that's built out, livable title versus something that's going to take a lot longer, and it's only going to get harder. Right now, every project is different, and everybody has different desires, location, views, etc. So some projects work for other people, right? But right now, I think we're starting to see more resale inventory ping versus pre-construction. We had a project that was pre-construction come to us, and we didn't take it on. And it was nothing against the project. It was more about the pricing. You know, and that had a higher price point than this. You know, and it's like, hey, can we sell that? You know, I didn't believe we could because I thought the pricing was high. And that's what I'm saying. When you have these projects that were getting off the ground in 2021, and now they're delivered, not only are they finished like this, but, you know, the pricing, the land has gone up, everything has gone up, labor, inflation, interest rates. So these owners can sell at a price that's lower than what the developer, and you'll see this with other, you know, there's a development down the road here. The first buyers are able to resell at less than what the developer is currently selling inventory later on. And that's what we're saying here. The developer sold all of this out over 99%. So you're not really competing with the developer anymore. This is just resales, and you have the amenities, you have all this stuff. I like this area of Tesal where Cabo Costa is because it's not as high density as what I would say like the Costco area. You know, you have an Arroyo on the other side, and then it starts Cabo del Sol. I don't think you're getting into Cabo del Sol for under $1 million. And if you want a house, it's probably a lot more than that, right? So, and then it's a golf course. You know, you have the hike right here, and then in other areas of Tesal, it's starting to stack up, you know?
Yeah, and also like whenever I've talked to like agents from other brokerages about Cabo Costa, that like maybe it fell off the radar, and they're like, "Oh, how's that going?" It's like, no, it's done. Yeah, it's done, and it's like towers are being delivered. Oh, but the amenities, like that's not done. No, yeah, the amenities are done. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like being very skeptical about newer projects, and then like how people are surprised, like, oh, wow, it is done. You know,
No,
there's
here's the thing is that I thought last year it was kind of intelligent to sit on the sidelines, specifically in this market. Entering summer of 25, you have a lot of markets here that are out of control. Like you go to Currency and these like multi-million-dollar homes, they're like setting records, right? But right now I'm starting to see a lot of inventory ping in Tesal. And I think those are the buyers that are really, when you look, as you just said, the dust settled. I think you see where things go in 2 years. And I think you could look back and say like, hey, we got a really good deal, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what your goal is, right? Are you looking for personal use? Are you looking for rental income? You know, every project has its pros and its cons, but at least with something built out, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Do you think like people are going to misinterpret us talking about the convenience and the opportunity of buying something finished out versus pre-construction as like bad news about the market? Like the sky is falling.
No, so that's
which
not
is
the
common whenever you update. Like
No,
It's
look,
always changing, but as soon as you tell them how it's changing, it's like, oh,
no. So
so
here's the thing: is that consumers are smart,
yeah.
right? So like, why would you lie to them? You know, and that's what I'm saying is I thought it was actually intelligent to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is we're literally about to get our condo delivered here. We're getting the inspector right now, right in front of the or right behind the amenities section. So like I'm a buyer here and I'm excited about it. And this is a buy and hold. I like this development. I think you've got to the point where developers are getting smart too. Because you had a lot of people come from different parts of Mexico that want to develop here. They had success in other areas, but this is not Tulum. This is not Mexico City. And I think some of them found out the hard way that it's a different market. It's and very much, 50% Mexico, 50% United States, especially when it comes to closing process. Because I speak to developers and they're like, man, this is no joke. So you have a different market here, right? And I think a lot of those people figure that out. So now people are saying, hey, if this project doesn't pencil in, maybe they own the land and they're like, hey, we can do this in 2 years. Let's see what happens in 2 years. So I think you're starting to see more people do that. And because of that, the resale market, not only, in my opinion, is a better option depending on what you're looking for. Like I said, the risk and reward, why would you take the gamble on something unless it's a project that fits? But there's absolutely great pre-construction projects.
It's not gonna change in the way that like it's done. There's no more. It's just like switching the focus from consumers, right? They're gonna focus more on something less risky. And also what we were talking about, like stuff being out of the developer's hands. There's all these like international things that have effect on the market right now. So people don't want to gamble right now.
Yeah.
The less risky, the better. So that's also like an incentive for people to shift their focus.
I have conversations with people in the US that are in commercial real estate that are all over. Last year was a lot of elections, another reason to stay put. This year, all that's over, but then you have, a lot of volatility coming out of the White House just with, something new happening all the time. So it's like, hey, what's going on here? I personally am seeing a lot, specifically in like commercial real estate, where you have big money and big plays that are long-term bets moving now. And I think it's going to go like that. And that's why I'm saying, I think if you look at a project like a Cabo Costa, and there's other projects that are, at this stage too, whether that's in San Jose or that's in Cabo, where you're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense now because I know what I'm getting into. We talked about the high end was just kind of like on fire. And I believe that those people were like, hey, that's like maybe a second, third, fourth home. And they're like, hey, I'm taking this out of the stock market anyway, and I'm just going to plant this here. This is like a lifestyle play. This could be more of an investment. It's a smaller price tag, but I think you're going to start to see more movement in these types of markets. I've been wrong many times before, but I'm seeing it. I've been watching this market, the Cabo Corridor condo market, for a while now, and I'm starting to see things ping.
Yeah, I think like at the end of last year, beginning of this year, everyone was on the fence. It changed from like everyone being on the fence to now a lot of them being like, all right, now it's the time to like, I've been keeping an eye on it since the year started, and now is the time to like get serious.
Look, here's the thing is, we'll go to a different market. If you go to Quivira and you just look at like 2 or 3 bedroom condos, I had some guy that reached out last month, and at that time there were 48 condos for sale. It's still a buyer's market, right? So, but that's what I'm saying is it's a buyer's market without the risk. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines and you're still in the market, that's what I'm saying is this could be a good time to at least investigate further.
So you also brought some numbers. You want to?
No, it's really just resale versus pre-sale. I mean, in speaking with, you've done commercial space, which is
which is that's
Plaza
another
Naranjo.
thing. Yeah, Plaza El Naranjo in Tesal. which is another thing that I think is an effect of the dust settling on the boom, is we're starting to fill out these places that had a lot of developments, because you have all these condo buildings, but now they need like somewhere to go, right? So it's not just like this is built out, all the condos are done, we move over here, we move over here. No, there needs to be like stuff there. There's a new paved road, there's new businesses, there's like all of this stuff that is necessary to fill in, that maybe when people are focused on pre-construction, they don't think about that stuff yet. Like no one's thinking, I'm looking into pre-construction for a condo. They're not thinking like, what restaurants are going to be there? What businesses are?
All right. So you have like from pickleball to, cafes, to restaurants within walking distance, right? Where you really have these like communities. You talk about infrastructure, they're paving quite a few roads in Tezal. And then that made me think of San Jose. So, okay, San Jose has a Tezal happening in San Jose. The only difference between that one is that it's literally all ground up.
And there's no Costco.
Yeah, there's no Costco. And they have this huge infrastructure project happening, which all you got to do is experience it once. And I experienced it once, and it took me 45 minutes to go 1 hour to go like literally 100 meters. Yeah. And I was like, man, unless I have to do this, I really don't want to. That wasn't even rush hour. So if you catch it at the wrong time, it can be bad. So I think for the next 2 years too, you're going to have this kind of like bifurcation. Like if you came to Cabo and you have a place here and you're going to Flora Farms, like that's your spot. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be rough for the next 2 years. So I think even like the art walk, for example, I think Cabo can take the time to kind of like the entrepreneurs can come create more businesses from this. So I think Cabo is actually, you're getting a lot of San Jose used to have this argument, I have too much pre-construction, all this. Well, that's what I'm saying. They're about to get a taste of their own medicine. And then on top of it is all pre-construction, man.
Yeah, it's a misconception from like people who aren't familiar with Cabo. They're like, oh, Tesal is like the place where everyone is buying and it has all these new condo buildings. And when you explain like it's not really walkable, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, if everyone's buying and living there and there's all of these new towers, it should be like filled in, right? Like make it walkable, make it do the farmers market and have the kids riding around in their bikes. I think like that's the next step that you get to focus on when you're not just like focused on pre-construction.
Cabo, it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. But, you can see if you just look at sale price versus list price, that's pretty close. The spread on that is, I think it was like 3%, so 97%. So things that are selling, that are priced right, are selling. You're starting to see more paying. People are getting value. And I just think over the next year, 2 years, you're going to have some sort of like bifurcation. And, Cabo is going to be Cabo, San Jose is going to be San Jose with the traffic. And I think because of that, you're going to have what you just mentioned, a lot more entrepreneurs are going to be opening up businesses that makes it even more enjoyable, to where from this condo with this view, you walk down the street, you have restaurants, you've got grocery stores. So that's kind of really what we wanted to cover, is just, the opportunity for specifically retail inventory with good developers.
Thank you, Fletcher, for joining us. And do you want to give a quick message?
We're running the summer months. I like the summer months, man, because it's more the Cabo local crowd, more the diehards. Yeah. And if you're coming down, reach out to us. Happy to show you around. I love living here. Yeah. Probably be taking a trip to the
art walk.
No, I'm not going to the art walk.
Will we be seeing you there today?
No. Art walk in San Jose, that's like going to La Paz now, man. I'm telling you, the traffic, I'm 100% behind the new infrastructure project. It should have been done 5 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to it being done. Like I said, all you got to do is experience it once, and then you'll be like, damn.
I went yesterday, and now I wouldn't drive to San Jose if I lived there.
No, I'm telling you, and that's what I'm saying. I think there's going to be, repercussions from that in a good way.
Yeah.
Where, maybe Cabo kind of starts its own art walk, which we do have, but maybe it turns into something that people actually go to, sorry to the people that actually go to it, but I'm saying Cabo can get better.
Yeah.
Everybody can improve. So I think this is a good time for Cabo to do that. So yeah, if you're coming down, reach out to us. Happy to give you guys any statistics on the market, show you around, and always here at Cabo Costa. Like I said, I have a unit here. And this is going to be a long-term play for us. So
yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. And if you want more information on Cabo Costa or would like to get in contact for anything real estate related, let us know. And if you have any other interesting topics that you would like us to discuss, also let us know. Comments, DM, smoke signal, and thank you.